Welcome to Press Start to Join, a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. This is episode 224, and I'm Josh.
And I'm Alan. Today we've got a bunch of news about the controversy that is Diablo Immortal.
We also cover two Blizzard heroes that are coming to Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm.
I have a recommendation for a crazy good movie.
I have a recommendation for a podcast that teaches you about Edmonton's history.
Alrighty, first thing this week, we've got a bonus round of free games of the month.
Whoa, from what?
Well, first up, for its 1-year anniversary, Destiny 2 is free on the Blizzard launcher until November 18th.
Oh.
So this is the 2017 sequel to the pretty fun space shooter. It's an online-only first-person shooter RPG in space with kind of Diablo-esque loot drops. I'd say it's worth playing, especially because, it's free. Although the end game is going to be a bit sparse if you don't have any of the DLC. And there is a lot of DLC at this point. I think there's two first packs that were covered by the season pass, and then there's the new Forsaken one that's like kind of a relaunch DLC that's annoying because I bought the season pass and then there's more that isn't covered by it. So yeah. But anyway, free game, why not? Also, since it's on PC, you can get that buttery smooth refresh rate. So many frames. So many. And also, for some reason, Microsoft is just giving away copies of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds for the Xbox One.
Oh.
For anyone who didn't know, this is another 2017 title. It's a realistic first-person battle royale that has you and 99 other people dropped onto an island where you fight to be the last one alive. Now, a lot of people are saying that, maybe this is just a trial weekend or a free play without gold weekend or something. But the webpage says that this is the full 1.0 product release free for a limited time. So wow. It's worth at least associating with your account. In the worst case, oh no, it stops being free at one point, nothing lost. Versus if it doesn't stop being free, you got a $30 game for some reason. And yeah, you don't even need Xbox Live Gold to get it, although you do need Gold to play it online with people. So
yeah. No single player.
Yeah. But we'll have a link to that in the description over on PS2JShow.com because I'm not 100% that it's not URL specific.
Okay.
So you should probably use this to track it down either way. And then on to the news. First up, PlayStation Classic is just about here. We first talked about this on episode 215. It's coming on December 3rd, and we've got a bunch more details here for you. So, the classic consoles, they're kind of standard nowadays. If you think Nintendo Classic, Super Nintendo Classic, if someone said Atari Classic, you get the idea. It's a cute miniature version of the original with limited number of games built into it. People who came a little later to the PlayStation party might get confused by the controllers though, because they are the absolute original version, not the DualShock.
No.
So there's no rumble, no analog sticks. On the plus side, they feel smaller and lighter than usual. On the downside, no rumble, no analog sticks. So it completely, they can't have any games that require analog sticks, like Ape Escape or Metal Gear Solid, things like those where you actually needed those extra controls. And also, as another bonus, they connect using a standard USB plug, which points to Sony over top of Nintendo's special connector they keep on using for some reason.
Yeah, from the bottom of the Wiimote. It's that.
Yeah, it's a bold choice to keep going with that, to triple down on it with their Super Nintendo Classic. But then PlayStation's like, hey, USB? Cool, let's do that. So, hey, now you'll have Sony PlayStation 1 gamepads for your computer for whatever reason. So the way that they set this console up is it's kind of bare bones. There's not a lot of flash to it. You kind of boot it up. It does the PS1 boot up thing, and then you're into the menus. Each game has its own virtual memory card associated with it, as well as a resume game option to pick up right where you left off. So like a save state. So you've got your saves, you've got the resume game if you just basically put it in stasis, And then it also has a third way to resume. It automatically pauses your game if you ever go back to the home screen while you're playing. And it puts them into sleep in the background, and you can have as many games in the background as you want at the same time.
Holy crap.
So in this way, it's actually really slick how you can just like, I'm bored of that one, switch to something else. Oh, I want to switch back, and you're right back into the action, exactly where you left off.
Well, theoretically, these are less demanding games by our standards of graphics and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely. But even like with save state technology the way it is, like there's no reason that other classic consoles couldn't do this. All you have to do is just basically save it, shut it down, and then when you start it back up, load the state. You load exactly where you were. Emulators have been doing this for decades. The fact that Sony's doing this first and Nintendo didn't even try is kind of interesting. So it definitely points in Sony's favor with this classic versus Nintendo's version.
Well, maybe someone at Sony was like, I have an emulator, and they're like, what? Our games are free on the internet? And Nintendo's always like, what's the internet? And does no research.
True. This is very true. Yeah, it does look like everyone except Nintendo actually like looks at competitors. So that could explain that quite a bit. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. There's no like bonus art. There's no secret extra games. It's apparently exactly what it says on the tin in a pretty tight package. So if you like PlayStation 1 games, it's worth checking out. Although one thing is these are those old classic first 3D games.
Yeah.
So they don't age quite as well as 2D pixel art, generally speaking. But if you got the nostalgia, why not play them? Warcraft 3 is getting a remaster called Reforged, and it includes all the extra packs, including the Frozen Throne.
I'm pretty excited about this, actually.
And you might get more excited with some of the stuff that I have to say here. So it includes a full overhaul of the game's graphics, the systems, the voiceover, as well as an updated map editor, which, for people who didn't know, originally became the first multiplayer online battle arena game, Defense of the Ancients.
Yeah, the Dota.
Yeah, exactly. So, and as a bonus, the non-reforged version of Warcraft 3 is also getting some updates, so the multiplayer will be compatible across both versions.
What?
So you can play Warcraft 3 Reforged with the original Warcraft 3. And a lot of people have their fingers crossed and think this is pointing to the fact that maps, like the custom maps, custom game modes will be fully transportable between the two versions, since they'll be running on the same engine. So you could actually load up a map of Dota 1 on Warcraft 3 Reforged with all the new fancy graphics.
Hot damn.
It's a really cool little bonus for everybody. So it's just basically same engine, updated graphics, here's the game. And of course they made some tweaks to the maps and that kind of thing too, to try to make it more the game you remember instead of the exact game you played back in the day.
Yeah.
One thing they were talking about is, I guess Warcraft 3 has one map, a mission that's really important to the character development of Arthas, the Lich King. And I guess they completely revamped that map to actually make it match how the zone is in World of Warcraft.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, so they're kind of going back and making their lore a little more consistent, which it's always a bonus. So now on to one of the bigger topics of the week here, Diablo Immortal. It was announced during the BlizzCon opening ceremony, which is a bold choice because this is a mobile game.
Yeah.
And that spurred shock and anger of a lot of fans. Like, the way that they announced it, it's like, we're announcing a new Diablo on your phones.
Because it opened up with a cinematic that was Blizzard quality.
Yeah,
very misleading.
Exactly. Well, and there were responses to the presentation like, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke? And will this be available for PC? Which had the Q&A people, one of the main developers, replying with the now famous, do you guys not have phones?
That it's not a matter if I could play it, it's what experience do I want?
Well, not to mention, like, you've got decades of the Blizzard polish, and people buy powerful computers to play the Blizzard polished games at highest quality possible. And they're like, so this is my gaming PC. I can see someone having a PC specifically for Blizzard games. And they're just like, oh, do you not have a phone? It's like, yeah, that's really not the point. I wanted to play a shiny new Blizzard game on my shiny Blizzard computer. I don't know, especially because, like, I'll get into more what the kind of game it is, but it feels like the game is made for longer play sessions, and that doesn't, to me, fit what mobile gaming is.
Yeah. Sort of like the problem with handheld gaming.
Exactly. Although
you get the neck crunch, but you don't get as much hot hands with a DS than you do with a phone.
Well, and that's it. Like, yeah, a portable game system can be a little cramped to hold. A, not as cramped as a phone, and B, phones, like you said, they can get hot. The battery runs down fast. These are powerful computers, yes, but they are not purpose built for gaming, unless you get like a gaming phone, in which case, I don't understand you. I'm sorry.
What? Are you aware of any gaming phones on the market?
I think Razer makes a phone.
Oh, okay.
So that's a thing. But so Diablo Immortal is set between Diablos 2 and 3, where you have to gather the shards of the World Stone before Skarn, the Herald of Terror, uses them to resurrect Diablo. This is being advertised as online and cooperative, which is, I mean, that's an interesting hook for a console game, but ooh, on mobile, okay, cool. So you're going to have people that are like playing on the bus and then they go into a low reception area and drop out, I guess?
Or, most of the world where data is expensive as hell, so you can't be just doing things on data.
Yeah, so it's definitely... It's a bold choice to have an online cooperative game on your phone.
Yeah, just bouncing from cafe to cafe with their sketchy free Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Well, and especially they're saying that there's going to be instance dungeons like World of Warcraft to have groups of players go taking on these harder challenges. So you're going to have a group of like 4 players locked into a dungeon, and then, whoops, I lost reception. Guess I'm out now.
And hopefully dungeons are like 15-minute affairs.
Yeah, because like if these are like anything more than like 10, 15 minutes, that's a long time to be sitting there gaming on your phone, for me anyway. Like
even for me.
Yeah. It's all just it's a really bold choice, and the way that they did it is I don't know if it's going to pay off. Now, Blizzard is saying that this whole game has been built from the ground up to work with touch controls. And though the classes are familiar, many of the abilities have been kind of reworked and tweaked, which a lot of people are taking to mean that it's verifying the internet's pet theory that this is all just kind of a reskin of an existing mobile game. Because what Blizzard has done, they haven't actually developed this themselves. They've partnered with a Chinese mobile game company called NetEase, which already released a very similar game called Crusader of Light. And actually, fun fact, Crusader of Light itself was then ripped off by another company and made into Endless of God, which is basically a Diablo clone. So the company that's making Diablo Immortal was themselves ripped off, and someone made a Diablo clone for mobile already called Endless of God.
The ripoff just shows how close it was to Diablo that someone already went and did it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, these are all like the standard free-to-play loot box extravaganza, money and energy and all those game mechanics. So it's going to be interesting to see what Diablo Immortal looks like at the end of the day. Now, Blizzard has said that Immortal uses all new art and assets, but that's kind of the definition of a reskin.
Yeah.
So... But of course, one of the biggest complaints that I've been reading about lately in the later part of the week is that it doesn't feel like a Blizzard game, because the Blizzard formula has been historically, they take a game type that already exists, like Dune or Team Fortress 2, and then they improve on it, and they add that Blizzard polish that I'm always talking about, and they make Warcraft, they make Overwatch.
Yeah.
But in this case, Blizzard has handed Diablo over to NetEase and just yelled, do something. And I don't see how this is mapping up to anything that Blizzard has done before. And it really feels like these are marketing execs instead of game developers driving decisions. So all in all, it could be a decent game. But I mean, if you want a mobile Diablo experience and you're still okay giving Blizzard money after all this, Diablo 3's on the Switch with all the DLC. Just do that. It's a gaming platform with a Diablo thing. Already, it's a good game. Everyone loves it. Just do that. What? Ugh, I don't know.
And it of course would be a massive project, but if the whole thing was prefaced with, you'll be enjoying this on your phone while tiding you over 4, and then just like a D and a 4, like that would have fixed it all.
Yeah, and I heard rumblings, nothing substantiated, but I heard rumblings that they were working on a Diablo 4 video for BlizzCon, and just for whatever reason, marketing or it wasn't ready, they didn't put it out. So that's why, I think that's why Diablo Immortal was so front and center, is because they didn't have anything Diablo 4. And they really took a hit because of it. Like, Diablo Immortal should have been a bonus, a treat, not a headliner at the keynote for your own gigantic convention.
Yeah.
There's no way that it could have held up to that kind of scrutiny even in the best of mobile games.
And it is sort of ballsy for one game company to hold their own convention and then for them to announce a game and get booed over it.
Yeah, well, and that's a big thing, because like this wasn't E3 or something where it's just, okay, well, Blizzard sucked, let's go check out another presentation. Yeah. This is BlizzCon. This is Blizzard's marketing. This is 100% them, and they messed up. They messed up big.
The whole experience with the mobile Diablo just is speaking dead battery and microtransactions. That's the two things that came to my head.
Oh yeah. Well, and definitely because like it's a commonly accepted trope that all the Chinese mobile games are all free to play wallet grinders, because that's the kind of games that get traction, generally speaking, when they're pumped out over in the Asian markets.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't get addicted to those games like Clash of Clans or whatever.
Oh yeah, because that's their entire point is it's a feedback loop to get you to give them money. Because as soon as you start getting into it and start having fun, they're like, oh, you ran out of energy. Oh, yep. You can't do that thing. You have to wait for 8 hours. And those are the worst game mechanics ever.
One of the games I did play that was definitely a big Asian company reskinning their properties, but it had PvE elements. I finished the first world, and then the second level of the second world was like a cliff. Like, it was straight up difficulty.
Oh, shit.
I went from dominating every single match to barely winning the first one in the second world to not even finishing the first wave of 3.
What game was this?
I can't remember. Something of battle. Like, it was one of the... I played these games because the one game I liked had an advertising campaign, like system installed, where if you played other games and achieved certain milestones, it would give you freemium currency in the other game you liked.
Okay.
So I just did them once a day and didn't spend any money on anything, and I got a lot of freemium currency.
And probably ended up downloading a lot of games where the icon is some dude yelling off to the right-hand side.
Yes.
Because that's the format, for some reason. This episode of Press Start to Join is brought to you in part by the Edmonton Community Foundation and the Well Endowed podcast. The Edmonton Community Foundation works with donors to establish endowment funds, providing grants to charities and causes in the community. And because only a portion of the fund is granted out, it continues to grow and provides grants in perpetuity. And for a cherry on top, you can hear about some of the passionate people that call Edmonton home and the impact they have on the city in each episode of the Well Endowed podcast. In episode 32, they speak with Brian Jackson, the director of Data for Good, about the Edmonton Arts Datathon 2018, and the renowned Pro Coro Canada Choir about a new endowment fund they've created to honor 2 outstanding volunteers. You can listen to that over at thewellendowedpodcast.com, and we're encouraging listeners to go to thewellendowedpodcast.com/survey to help them offer the best possible listening experience.
Continuing our Blizzard news,
Ooh.
they did announce for 2 games Alan and I like, they're adding some badass female characters, and I'm super excited to play both of them.
Oh yeah, always good.
Ash was introduced to Overwatch with a really cool video for McCree, which we've all been waiting for.
And Ash has my favorite kind of gun ever. I love it.
For those who, I guess, ignored BlizzCon but still like Overwatch, which is crazy.
That's our demographic. People who ignore news but still want to listen to it.
Yeah. Ash is the ambitious and calculating leader of the Deadlock Gang and a respected figure of the criminal underworld. Born into a wealthy family, Ash grew up surrounded by privilege. Her parents were highly sought-after business consultants and coaches for powerful CEOs around the world. Though her parents paid little attention to her, mostly leaving her in the care of her family Omnic's butler, Bob, they ensured that Ash had every opportunity to succeed. But a chance meeting with a local ruffian named Jesse McCree and an impromptu string of crimes committed together opened her eyes to her true calling. The satisfaction of outwitting her targets and the thrill of getting away with it set her on the outlaw path. Along with 3 other founders of the Deadlock Gang, Ash started to make a name for herself with bigger and more extravagant heists. Deadlock Gang's rapid rise to prominence put them at odds with other criminal organizations in the American Southwest. The encounters often became violent. After years of skirmishes and bloodshed, Ash called the heads of the major groups together. Ash saw the potential to grow the influence of all. She used what she'd learned from her parents' business to bring order to these groups. Her proposal was that the gangs could work together, or at least not work against each other. Her principles: keep your word, don't work with the law, respect each other's territory, always punish betrayal.
Oh, solid rules to live by.
Oh yeah, some laws to the lawless. No longer having to focus her energies on squabbles with other gangs, Ash is now writing her own name across the American Southwest with a string of audacious heists and operations that has her at the top of the authorities' most wanted lists and cemented her legacy as an outlaw legend.
Fancy.
So she's super badass. I would say cowgirl, but honestly, bounty hunter, Western bounty hunter fits her better.
Absolutely.
So she's a damage hero, 200 health. She has the Viper, which is a semi-automatic lever-action rifle.
Love it.
Dynamite and a coach gun as her weapons. Her ultimate is Bob, which is either Big Omnic Butler or Big Omnic Bodyguard, whichever you choose.
Oh, neat.
So the Viper is actually really cool, and I agree with Alan. It's an awesome gun, and I'm glad to see it in Overwatch. It has 2 firing modes. Unsighted, it can be fired quickly, but the damage fall off is a lot higher. It also has a sighted mode, which has better range and accuracy. And regardless of the firing mode, the gun has a headshot bonus.
Nice.
As a unique trait, the rifle is reloaded 1 shell at a time, meaning a full reload from empty takes a longer time. But it also means after each shell is loaded, the gun can be fired to use remaining ammunition, so you don't have to always do the whole animation.
Nice.
Dynamite is really neat because she throws it and it explodes after a short amount of time. It can also be shot to explode immediately. And as a tip I found online, the dynamite is thrown in a straight line. So if you sort of aim above people's heads and throw it and don't move your reticle left or right, the dynamite will cross the path of your reticle, so you just have to time the shot and not aim it.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. The dynamite has a 10-second cooldown. The explosion does damage the closer you are to it, which sort of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It sets the victims on fire as well for dots.
Oh, nice.
And unfortunately, Ash gets damaged by it as well, but she takes half damage from the explosion and the fire.
Oh, that's something.
The coach gun is another, that's crazy that she has this coach gun. It's
I love it.
Sawed-off shotgun that pushes enemies away as well as Ash. So instead of just getting them away from you, it gets you out of places.
Yeah, and I've already seen videos of like Ash saving herself from the well on Ilios of just like, boop, I'm in the air now.
The amount Ash is pushed horizontally is far less than when she fires straight down to pop up into the air.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen in the PTR, the vertical height Ash gets is comparable to Winston's leap.
Yeah, it's like a 30-foot vertical leap. I love it.
How light is she?
She's like a waif of a woman. I mean, she's tall, but she sure ain't broad.
And as a super insane ultimate, she has Bob.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Ash simply points, and Bob appears into the battlefield. Once he's summoned, he has 1,200 health and can challenge objectives.
And also, he can be healed, he can be nano boosted, all kinds of stuff.
Unfortunately, healing and whatnot for Bob does not contribute to those players' ultimates, but he is essentially an extra hero.
That's fair.
Once summoned, Bob charges forward, and when he collides with enemies, he knocks them into the air, and then once they land, he begins shooting at them.
Nice.
A charging Bob can be stopped any way a Reinhardt charge can be stopped or altered.
Okay.
When he collides with a wall and not hitting any enemies, he sort of just uses that place to start firing from.
Makes sense.
And as of PTR testing, the Ash's ultimate cannot be interrupted. Once she hits Q, it happens.
Nice. And one bonus thing that people might have seen in the Overwatch animated short featuring Ash and McCree is they've kind of hinted at the next hero that's probably coming, Echo, McCree's robot friend with a hologram face that we know very little about, but apparently she was the payload on Route 66.
Yeah, she was just like compacted because she is a lot like Eva from
from Wall-E.
Wall-E, that's the one.
Yeah, so if she ends up being another hero, she's going to be a very unique looking one. Like she doesn't look like anybody that's there currently.
Yeah, she's going to be support for sure. And they already, in a short little internet interview I saw with Jeff Kaplan, he said she is not the next hero, but she is in the works.
Yeah, on the roadmap.
Apparently, the next hero is already on their private servers being played with.
Fancy.
Which I hope for a Talon tank.
Yeah, more Talon would always be good.
So when Al and I were done with Overwatch, we usually play Heroes of the Storm, which is also getting a new character.
Woo.
If you're unfamiliar with Heroes of the Storm, it is a MOBA, which is a massive online battle arena where there's different objectives to take the map. It's played in a top-down perspective. Dota 2 and League of Legends they're great examples of what a MOBA is. As a twist, because Heroes of the Storm is known for having characters across the Blizzard franchises, this new hero is actually unique to Heroes of the Storm.
Oh.
So she is completely original, and I guess she represents HOTS in the roster of this game now.
Cool.
Orphea's upbringing was lonely, but she found comfort and connection with ancestral magic. Orphea's mother left the family very early in her life, fearing what would happen if her father, Oberon, the Raven Lord, tapped into the Dark Nexus.
Spooky.
Oberon promised Orphea not to tap into this power, but he broke his promise, pushing her away. So later, he sends out knights to find her once she sort of gets out of there.
Fair.
And what Deckard Cain wanders into the forests of Dragonshire, he is attacked by those knights. Orphea joins the clash and helps Cain defeating the knights, Decker Cain and Orphea team up and find a solution for the Dark Nexus threat raised by the Raven Lord. They come to Reyna, the Lady of Thorns, the Realm Lord of Dragonshire, for help, and they warn her about the danger coming. Reyna calls in her greatest allies from across the lands and marches them forward to battle the Raven Lord and his champions in Alterac Pass. Later, Orphea witnessed her father defeating the Lady of Thorns and causing the fall of King's Crest. Vowing her to stop her father from hurting anyone else, she chose to rise up against him and become a hero in the Nexus.
Ooh.
So she is another assassin hero. Her strengths are she does high damage, has zone control, she sustains well, and she's great at dueling. She is weak to pokes and crowd control. So her trait is called Overflowing Chaos. When she hits an enemy hero with a basic ability, it grants 1 Chaos. Chaos can stack 3 times. When Orphea has Chaos, her basic attacks against heroes consume all Chaos stacks and deal 50% increased damage per stack, and healing her for 100% of damage dealt.
Interesting.
And if that's, like, her Q is so crazy to me, because it's called Shadow Waltz. It costs 5 mana and has a 25-second cooldown.
Huh.
After half a second, it deals 150 damage to enemies in a line. And hitting a hero with Shadow Waltz sets its cooldown to 2 seconds and refunds 25 mana, so you actually make mana back.
Wow, okay.
It then causes Orphea to dash a short distance upon moving. So, she's scary.
Yeah, that's weird and interesting.
So if she is able to hit you with her poke ability, she dashes at you and has more mana than she started with. Her W is called Chomp, 60 mana, 10-second cooldown. After 0.625 seconds, I have no idea how they come up with these timers. It deals 285 damage to nearby enemies in front of her, so it just sort of makes the area in front of her scary.
Oh yeah.
Her E is Dread, 50 mana, 14-second cooldown. She releases a wave of Dread that deals damage to enemies hit. Dread erupts 0.75 seconds after reaching the end of its path, dealing 175 damage and slowing enemies in that area by 25% for 2 seconds.
Oh, dang.
Her first ult is called Eternal Feast, 75 mana, 50-second cooldown. After 1.5 seconds, it deals 210 damage in an area, and Eternal Feast repeats every 1 second as long as it hits an enemy hero.
Oh, interesting.
So, if there's a team fight and people are stuck, say Zarya's Graviton, it'll just keep going until it misses an enemy.
Wow.
Her second ult is Crushing Jaws, same mana and cooldown. After 1.25 seconds, she pulls enemies in an area toward the center, and it deals 275 damage and stunning them all for 0.75 second. So that one is like a big rectangle, and the ends of the rectangle sort of clash together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, all her abilities are this chaos stuff, and I don't know how to explain it. It's like darkness grows teeth and then chomps down.
I'm a fan.
And then her whole sort of identity is little girl with a huge, I don't know what it is. I think it's like a tombstone on her back or something.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, she's a unique looking character.
Cool.
And then they gave her as alternate skins a high school version of her where she has a locker on her back.
This episode is brought to you in part by Park Power, a provider of electricity and natural gas in Alberta that offers low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. In Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your energy from. Park Power has low overhead, and the chances are you'll save money if you switch. You can find out just how much money you'd save by visiting parkpower.ca and plugging your numbers into the Alberta Energy Savings Calculator. And if you decide to switch, it's easy. Nothing changes about your service, only the price you pay, and the charities that get a portion of your money. Learn more over at parkpower.ca. And with that, we're on to the tidbits of the week. First up, continuing Star Wars' love of prequels, Cassian Andor will be coming to Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus, in a spy thriller series set before Rogue One.
Oh, it'll be sad that I won't be watching that.
Why not?
I'm not getting another streaming service. It's just cable.
It's gonna have the Rogue One prequel. It's gonna have the Mandalorian. There's gonna be so many things.
I know, but it's just cable was good, and then everyone started making packages with their premium channels, and now that's just what the internet's turned into. It's awful.
Yeah, it's working though, unfortunately. But you're right, it is kind of awful. Apple's officially released watchOS 5.1.1, replacing that update from last week that was causing issues on some watches, causing them to just completely break down and need to go into the Genius Bar. It brings all the usual bug and security fixes, as well as adding an audio message to the emergency SOS call that includes your GPS coordinates. Just a little bit of fanciness for you there. Good news for Vine fans, we may be getting a successor in the new year.
About time.
One of the original founders has announced that Vine 2.0 will be called Byte, and is coming in spring 2019. World of Warcraft Classic is coming this summer, taking things back to just before Burning Crusade came out.
Crazy.
Now, this is definitely something that fans have been passionate about, but personally, I find it pretty hard to go backwards when playing any game series. Like, there's going to be a lot of little niceties, little features, mods that became features that you're just going to be completely missing. So, I'm hoping the fans enjoy it, because it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, like, hunters had to buy quivers and arrows.
Yeah, exactly.
You could run out of ammo.
Adventure Sync is officially available for Pokemon Go players over level 5, and once you go into your settings and enable it, it's kind of slick. You go through your normal day, and based on your steps, you earn candy for your buddy Pokemon, and get distance for hatching eggs, all without killing your battery.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. And finally, some good news for people that just don't have enough ways to watch YouTube. There is now an app for it on the Switch.
I am so happy. Oh my god.
So your TV with all your gaming consoles and also your multiple phones and your computer. But also Switch now.
So this is how I am going to be living my life. I can play something like Civilization on my computer, and without having to do picture-in-picture and stress my computer out, my Switch can sit in my Wii U stand so it is angled towards me. And I can watch stuff on YouTube there.
I mean, I guess it is a bigger screen than your phone, but still, like, how many screens do you need with YouTube on them?
All.
Fair. Actually walked into that one. Okay.
I'm mad it's not on my Gear S2. If you enjoyed this episode, why don't you give us a like on whatever you're listening to us from?
Yeah, any kind of ratings or reviews on iTunes or wherever you're listening to your podcast, it really helps us out with more visibility. And if you want to drop us a line, we're at PS2J Show everywhere. We've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're PS2JShow@gmail if you want to give us some secret tips or communications. And PS2JShow.com is arguably one of the better ways to listen, with access to a full searchable archive of all our podcasts. We got comment sections and links to join our Discord if you want to chat with us and play video games with us.
Totally. And we also have a Patreon where we have our show notes, and we also show our patrons upcoming project ideas we have, and you get all that access also if you're a Patreon supporter and on our Discord, because we have a channel just for them.
Yeah, sneaky insider info.
And a huge thanks to the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB, because they're supporting us, and we're so thankful to have them behind us.
And as always, thank you to Kevin MacLeod. He's the soundtrack of the internet. If you like listening to any of the music on our show, you can check him out at incompetech.com.
And it sounds like an ad, but it is not, because I've been really enjoying a podcast from the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB.
Oh, really?
I've been enjoying Let's Find Out, because I've been learning a lot about my city and its very interesting past. Because one thing as Canadians is we have a really nice demeanor and we tend to ignore our past because a lot of people that settled this country were jerks. And it's still not okay. And it's interesting to learn about everything that happened, whether it was by jerks or not. And so if you want to hear more about the history of Edmonton, Let's Find Out is a perfect podcast because Chris, who runs it, is the historian laureate for the city, and
oh wow,
it's fantastic. He has a bunch of resources he pumps out, but the podcast is good enough for me. I've been playing catch up on it. It's found at letsfindoutpodcast.com and also with everyone else on the Alberta Podcast Network at albertapodcastnetwork.com.
Awesome. My recommendation this week is actually for a really recent movie. It's called Mandy. It is crazy. It's a psychedelic journey of love, loss, and bloody revenge against the drugged-out cult that invades our hero's life.
Oh.
And, of course, the main character is played by Nicolas Cage, and the whole movie is just very peak Nicolas Cage. It uses every part of his acting ability. Oh, God. It doesn't always make sense, but in a way that it kind of feels like you're just dropped into the world and they're not overly worried about feeding you all the little details.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can try to pick it apart and like get your brain into the world. God save you if you do. But it's one of those movies that you can get as much out of it as you want to. It can just be like a full surface, just a dazzling light show with cool audio track, or like a really deep, in-depth, crazy action revenge story.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool. I really liked it.
Just started listening to Chris D'Elia's podcast. Congratulations. And yeah, Chris wants the career of Nicolas Cage because he calls it the perfect career.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And also a quick shout out to Sylvia, a new friend of ours on Twitter, that recommended the movie to me. So good.
And we probably should have mentioned earlier in the show, we're not working December.
Yeah, we're taking December off, doing some holidays, seeing the family, all that fun stuff. So our last episode is going to be December 1st, and then we will see you in 2019.
Totally. I'm looking forward to a bit of a break, and don't forget about us, because we'll be back, and we want to keep making cool stuff for you guys.
Yeah, we're taking a break. We still love you.
And thank you all very much for listening.
And thanks for pressing start.